Welcome back to the installation of the intake and retest. Alright, it's one of those things, there's a lot of things I'd love to show, but I just don't have the way of a camera to get back there and show those things. So basically here's a wide shot, just like you took it out, it has to go back in right before you actually put it down, hook up the intake manifold runner control valve or manifold tuning valve, whichever your CAN scan tool says. Other than that, I did put a towel in the intake where the throttle body goes so I don't get any dirt in there as I'm trying to get this in there. I've sucked out all my ports. There are some other people online that'll take a compressed air gun and blow the stuff out. Whichever you do, just make sure it's clean when you go back in with it. Other than that, just like you took it out, it's heavy to come out, it's heavy to go back in, and that's pretty much that. So let's get on with it. Now there is a torque sequence to this, and the Mopar instructions actually call out for using a thread locker, but here's my problem with that, is that we have seen with these Hemis, they like to break bolts, and the last thing I want to do is have to break a bolt or fix a thread going right into a cylinder. I mean, yeah, you can put a towel in there and all that good stuff, but the way I see it, if you're going to have to do this job probably 2 or 3 times in the life of a Hemi, say you get 300,000 miles out of it, you're doing this once every, 30, 60,000 miles, yeah, 3 or 4 times of this is not going to be out of the question by any means, especially with these gaskets not lasting, 100,000 miles. Now this is a severe duty use situation, so that your mileage may vary on that. But if you've had to do this a couple times, let me know in the comments how many times you've had to redo your intake gaskets. 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, how many miles, and what's the basic interval. Alright, back in. Oh, here's the hard part. Climb in and have lunch, as they say. Now I'll be coming in from the driver's side, just because it's a lot easier for me to try to get back here to get this put back in and pinned. Okay, other than that, double checked our work, everything's torqued, everything's clean. Yeah, this is always the kind of sketchy part. This is the part I don't like, just because there's just not a lot of room to work. Alright, reach behind, hook up that IMCR. Click. Okay, and then we'll hook up the wiring post for it. Okay, in. Alright, and we'll slide this back. Try not to drag it on your way in, just because I can't tell what those intake gaskets are doing. I suppose these bolts are probably going to hang me up coming in, aren't they? Why won't you slide back? This is where the argument for taking the alternator out might be applicable. Oh no. But we got it out with it being in. Okay, I'm going to try to lift it up and drop it in place. Okay, looks like the only problem that we have now is the map wire. Okay, we're almost there, just got it lifted a little bit and go. There we go. Okay, for some reason we're a little hung up. Oh, fuel injection wire. Looks like our intake is slightly cattywampus. Alright, if you're getting hung up going back in, check the back. I had to twist it and turn it and it just dropped right in. So those things happen. Okay, if you had to take some bolts out like I did, there's 3 that I've got to throw in real quick. Sometimes the captures get worn out. There's a lock in here that's supposed to pull up and grab the bolt as you're going back in with it so it stays up, so it's out of the way. And then, you know, of course on an assembly line you got a machine that equally torques these. And you know you're through the lock because it'll just drop like that. So I am going in dry with these. You know, you put anti-seize on it, it's going to screw up your torque. You put Loctite on them. There's a potential that next time this has to come off for any reason that, you know, that bolt's going to break coming out. And that's where it's just not worth it to me. I'd rather take an air leak over a broken bolt any day. That's just me though. Okay, one in the back. Okay, what we're going to do before the torque sequence is we're just going to run all these down and get them started equally. You know, it's your traditional inside out. Start with 1, flop over to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'll put a picture up now of the torque sequence. And that's so everything goes down evenly. And I will start these off by hand just to make sure I'm in the thread. Just because there still might be a little bit of back and forth you have to do. Usually if you get the 2 front ones started first, the rest will follow suit. You kind of wiggle it a little bit and you'll get it. Okay, I gotta get my tool out. Plastic beer keg. Alright, with a very light torque tool. Hope the camera can hear it starting to suck down. Okay, that one's in. Yeah, we're still a little tight in a couple spots. Okay, once you start feeling it suck down, that's probably a good time to stop till you get them all ran down. Yeah, getting the back one is probably the most difficult aspect of this job. Yeah, temperature of the metal is going to change how these feel too. Because this engine was somewhat warm yesterday, but it's been sitting overnight about 70 degrees, so that to a partially warm engine, these are going to feel different. Okay, got them all started, and now let's get them equal. See how that one was tight and now it loosened up? It means we're right over the hole. Here's the sequence you're going to want to run. I'm doing mine in 3 passes, so basically 54, 100, and then 108 for the final. Problem with using extensions, it's going to put it a little bit on the light side, so you might just want to give it a little tiny ugga-dugga. You do not want to over-torque these, because that's how you blow these gaskets out in the first place. This will be the final torque. I've already done the first 2 passes, but my camera died right in the middle of it. It happens. Now I do buy these online manuals on eBay. They're not too expensive, like $10 to $15 depending on the manufacturer. There's still some stuff lacking in those manuals, but they do cover most of what you're doing here. Okay, that one's torqued. 2. Okay, 3. 4. These longer extensions can also play havoc with final torque too. You know, the biggest key out of all of it, just be equal. Okay. 5, which is behind the fuel line, or the fuel line coming in from the fuel tank. This is a returnless system, so there is no 2 incoming fuel line, just 1. Okay. 5, 6. Behind the PCV system. Alright, 7. Just up front. 8 is up by the alternator. Okay. And then 9 and 10 are in the back. 9 starting on the driver's side, 10 ending on the passenger side. Okay, that one's torqued, and then final of 10. I know what I'll do in my final. I'll just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just to make sure one did not get missed accidentally, because that would be a shame. Okay, that's 108 inch-pounds. And that, my friends, concludes the torque sequence of the intake manifold on the Hemi 5.7 liter engine. Alright, the fun part, hooking all the stuff back up the unhooked. Fuel injectors, map sensor, clips, throttle body, which I might put the throttle body on first so I don't get any dirt. Alright, just like everything else, you want to make sure your throttle body's clean. This one's clean. I mean, I don't see any issue with it. Unless it's internal to the motor, that little skip we're getting, and we go to floor it. It's hard to say. It's really odd. This truck's always kind of had that. Alright. Motor's pointed forward. There is a hole that you have to match. Okay, we're in. This is 9 foot-pounds according to my book. Man, just about out of parts. These are almost done. Now this is one thing I did find loose. And I'm really surprised that Dodge didn't use Zerks. I mean, I know it drive the cost of manufacturing up just to add a little, but not really impressed with trying to retain all this torque on just plastic alone. Try to run these in by hand as best I can, but now we're going to do an X pattern on the torque. Yeah, 9 foot-pounds against plastic. Holy crap. Well, I guess 9 is true. Definitely wouldn't want to go over that. Yeah, that one back here isn't going to torque up to 9. I can already feel it stripping. It's not the bolt stripping, it's the intake stripping. So that one we're going to have to leave. Let's see what we can get it to though. Let's see if it'll go to 70. Okay. See if we'll go to 80. Nope. Yep. Well, that's where that one stays. Okay, so all the items for torquing are done. Now you start plugging stuff back in. I might get this front bracket put together though. Okay, you want to get this bolt started lightly until you get the top one in that goes through the intake. Alright, that one's 13. Boy, the noise that would make if that bolt got into the belt system would be pretty intense. Alright, hook your throttle body back up. Click. Alright, and there's the air temp sensor once you put that hose back up. Okay. Got evap, brake booster, check. You're going to plug the fuel injectors back in on driver's side before I hook the fuel line back up. Push the safety locks down if you didn't break them tearing this apart. And then just double check, pull them back out, make sure they're locked. Alright, fuel line. The easy part pushes back on. Okay, click, put the lock back on. Okay, there's the connector. Connector in the back slides right back onto the holder back here. Okay. Now the passenger side. Start with the fuel injectors. I gotta grab the lock for that one. Okay, last fuel injector in the back. Okay, now hook up the map sensor. That wobbles around back there. That's such a stupid design. Okay. That's it for wiring. Now just the PCV crossover, air tube, and that's about that. Turn the key and make sure that there's no service engine zoom lights, because something isn't plugged in. Other than that, just about done. Alright, this tube. I forgot I had it backwards there. Yeah, that fits a lot better. You should see the Chrysler sign if you still have your original. Okay, brakes, evap, fuel injectors, fuel pressure, connector in the back, map sensor, already plugged in the IMCR, and other than that, down to the air tube. Okay. Wow. And we get a fresh slate of numbers, because all the previous fuel injection saved memory is going to be gone. Which is whatever. Okay, before I plug that last piece in and put stress on that plastic, we'll get the air box plugged in. Other than that, this part goes by really fast. Alright, plug the air temp sensor in so I don't get a P118. No positive lock. Alright, we're good. And the last thing, the fresh air for the PCB. We might put a zip tie on that just to give it a little positive lock. Other than that, that completes the rebuild of the intake gasket system. Alright, we're going to transition into some computer numbers and first start afterwards and see what we got. Other than that, this job is done. No extra parts, leave no tools. That is a job well done. Alright, back with you here in a bit. Alright, pre-startup, you want to turn the key a couple times and prime the fuel system and make sure that the fuel inlet is seated so you're not leaking fuel and causing a fire. You know, you spray fuel on a cold engine, big deal. Spray fuel on a hot engine, big fire. Big difference. So I'm going to turn the key a couple times, then I'm going to check for codes before we start it. Alright, so that's the fuel line right there. You're seeing it. Turn the key and make sure she don't hold pressure, because it'll fully pressurize even if you don't start it. Okay, turn the key off, give it 10 seconds. Alright, we'll shut the key off and we'll do it again. Okay, we're going to check for codes before we start it. If everything's plugged in, you shouldn't have any codes. And survey says 3 codes. Uh-oh. Did not like the map sensor. Okay. Did not like the Mopar map sensor. Well, might help if it was snapped in all the way. Hold on. Thought I snapped it in all the way. I didn't have it clicked in. Just double checking your work, so we'll go back and clear it. Okay, erase codes. Are you sure? Yes. Yeah, with this being a map-based system, it would not like it. Okay, turn it off. Okay, we'll go back and see if we have any codes, all the above. Permanent, that should go away once it starts and sees that it's running. For some reason with the Dodge computers, anytime that you play with it until it has its 54 starts, stays in as permanent, but it's not active. Okay, it's ready to start. She'll probably start a little rough and gurgly. Kind of how it goes. It's going to have a little bit of bubbly in the system. Still may not like that other map sensor I stuck in it, but we'll see. If it doesn't start up good or it runs like crap, that's going to be because of that map sensor. But according to my research, from 03 to current should be the same map sensor, or at least the 14. Might have been a change after 14, so let's see if she rolls. Yeah, I think we're looking at bad injectors. That should have calmed way down. Hasn't made a correction yet, but that number's not going to be pretty when it does. Oh man, that sucks. I mean, it sounds smoother, but those are pretty well even across the board. Alright, let's give it a chance to warm up and see what our final numbers are, but that's telling me fuel injectors are bad. Now the computer is starting to correct and pull some fuel back. It's kind of odd, it starts up lean and then it starts pulling back, so I don't know. I don't know if we're going to be at fuel injectors or not. You're just going to have to drive it and see. I mean, we've gone from a lean condition to a little bit rich, which I'm okay with a little bit rich at idle because it's having to take fuel back. But we started off at 10 and went in the negatives, so, and they're even on both sides. That's the thing. 3939, you know, 6363. I mean, you can't complain there. It's within specs. With Dodge, it's anywhere from -8 to +8. So I don't know, maybe the computer had stored information that even if you pull the battery for 2 days, I mean, that number is way better than it was. That's 3.1 now, so it was at about 6 at 6.3, got as high as 15.9, so maybe it's correcting. So this is one of those things, you gotta drive it. You didn't leave me a bunch of gas to go out and do a road test. Don't bring your car empty to a tech when they got to do testing. Well, I'm okay with those numbers. That's not bad. Alright, well, if you like the content, be sure to subscribe. We may or may not be doing injectors on this. I'll have him take it out, see what he thinks, see what the gas mileage is like now that we're not leaking air from the intake. But other than that, if you like the content, subscribe. God bless. See you next time, and thanks for watching. Bonus footage. Can't ask for much better than that. So maybe it's saved off at a fuel injector job.
Yeah, because the whole set's like $600.
Yeah, I know. I priced it today, and I was like, oof. All right, well, we're gonna get some gas, and he's gonna tell me later on if fuel mileage is better. We know there's definitely some air leaking going by, but you know, not bad enough to hear with the ears, but bad enough for the computer to sense it. They're beautiful numbers. Okay, for the final results, our long-term trim, the max was 15.6, 14.8, and as you'll see here in the next clip, our final long-term trim is 0.0. It don't get better than that. Honestly, there's nowhere else to go to get better. Why is long-term trim so important? You got to think about this. It kind of lets you know how the overall engine is running, if it's running efficiently. And anytime that you're adding fuel or taking it away, you've got some air imbalance or too much air, not enough fuel, whichever the case may be. It's not always the same scenario. But from this, you filled the tank up and pretty much reported 90 miles on a quarter tank, which when you do the EPA math is 6.6 gallons per 100 miles driven. That is dead on. And for an engine with 164,000 miles at the time of this recording, it don't get better than that. Now, the one thing we did notice that it does still start up kind of lean, and that's just going to be weak fuel injectors, and it's one of those things. Just run it, until you get an injector problem or you want it, you got $600 burning a hole in your pocket. Just leave it. It's really about all you can do, unless it's flooding the engine, which at that point we'll know because the computer will start pulling back, or you'll get rich codes, which we don't have that. We didn't have lean codes, we just had terrible fuel economy. So on this one, problem solved. Air intake gaskets are causing an issue. They're going to need fuel injectors down the road, absolutely, but we'll see if we can't kick the can down about 200,000 miles before we open up that checkbook and polish off some new injectors. So this is it for the Hemi for now. Anything else comes up, of course we'll record it, put it out, and other than that, you like this content, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment. God bless, we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.